All right, Wichita State facing a budget shortfall. The university says graduate school applications are lagging and unless corrected could face budget cuts.
The president sent an email to staff this morning asking for help to recruit more students, or else the school could fall short by millions. 12 News reporter Julia Daughtry looked into this matter. Julia, what did this email say?
Rachel, WSU faculty and staff this morning woke up to a threat of major budget cuts totaling at $2 million if graduate enrollment doesn't show improvement. I spoke with a few students today who say WSU is the best choice for schooling and encouraging others to enroll.
Rick Muma sent an email this morning to all faculty and staff about the risk of falling graduate enrollment. It says graduate applications are lagging both domestically and internationally, and if numbers don't show signs of improvement, the university could face budget cuts of roughly $2 million next year.
Part of learning is about exchanging knowledge between students, and the more the community, the more we can exchange ideas.
President Muma is leaning on deans at the university to meet enrollment goals for each degree program. Testing requirements have also been waived for graduate admissions in hopes of increasing graduate enrollment. Students at Wichita State say they hate to hear about the declining enrollment and would like others to join the shocker experience.
I mean, you're going to enjoy it at the end of the day.
Enroll at WSU, you'll have a good time.
It is like a welcoming experience to continue your studies here.
Anyone who is interested in graduate studies at WSU are encouraged to apply on the Wichita State University website. Classes for the fall will begin in August.